This is Mark Waid, writer of Superman Birthright, and you're listening to Krypton Report.
Up in the sky, look! It's a bird! It's a plane! It's the Krypton Report!
Host Tyler, and welcome to Krypton Report, a podcast dedicated to all things Superman, Supergirl. We're going to look at the Supergirl TV series as well as the Krypton TV series, anything that has to do with the characters in their world. Comics, movies, TV shows. We will talk about everything and anything. We are part of the Southgate Media Group podcasting network. You can find us on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook at Krypton Report. You can also email us at kryptonreportpod@gmail.com. If you get a chance to go over to iTunes, Apple Podcast, please leave us a review to help us get better. You can find me personal at JTYPatrick on Twitter and everything else. You can buy a Krypton Report t-shirt at tpublic.com. Check it out. They have all sizes, colors, styles of shirts. Just go to tpublic.com and search Krypton Report, and you'll see our logo. And every time you buy a shirt, it helps support other podcasts from southgatemedia.com. Thank you. Enjoy the show.
Hello, and welcome to the Krypton Report. I am your Superman Red, James Cole, and with me today is your host, as always, our Superman Blue, Tyler Patrick.
That's right. I'm here.
How you doing?
I'm feeling under the weather. We've been moving the past few days, and we wanted to record because we had to keep rescheduling. So we're going to do our news, and James is going to lead today. So take it away, James.
All right. Well, we've had a number of issues come up, number of news items come up. The one thing I want to start off with first. How do you feel? You know, Teen Titans Go.
Yep.
Yes, Teen Titans Go. They had cast some members of the Justice League, but they cast Superman, and it's going to be Nicolas Cage.
I'm happy for him. He'll finally get to play Superman in some way. And I guess
right.
With as crazy as Nicolas Cage is, Teen Titans Go is the best platform for him to do this.
Yeah, I'm very interested. With his personality, it certainly matches.
I didn't really have a desire to see that movie, but now I do.
Right? Yeah, that actually does help. I was going to take my kids to see it. They like Teen Titans Go. It has its moments. It's extremely meta, but what are you going to do? It's very referential.
Yeah.
You know, they reference everything having to do with DC, and they're able to make fun of it. You know, it has its moments. Nicolas Cage was going to be Superman in Tim Burton's Superman Lives, which they have actually done a documentary about.
Which one day we're gonna review that. It's on the schedule at some point. We'll get there.
Well, I actually still have to see that.
Exactly.
I haven't seen it yet.
I think what you do is I either need to come visit you or you guys need to come here now that we have this guest room that we're fixing up, and we can just watch it.
Oh, excellent.
Yeah.
That's definitely a good reason for a trip.
Exactly.
It's only 2.5 hours to Columbus, so that's not too bad.
It's not too bad. In the grand scheme of, I think it took me 3.5 to get to Phil. So, beating Phil.
Yeah.
In closeness.
Yeah. There you go. All right. So, you know, next thing we got here, movie-wise, Kristen Wiig. She has now, we talked before that she was in talks to be Cheetah for Wonder Woman 2. And she has now been officially cast as Cheetah in Wonder Woman 2.
You know, I'm okay with it. I mean, I've never seen anything I've really liked her in. Like, she was okay, funny and stuff, but there's never anything where I'm like, I really like Kristen Wiig in that. And I've seen some of her other non-comedy stuff and more indie films. But I'm just like, whatever. We'll give it a shot. You know what I'm saying? I'll give her a shot.
Yeah.
Cheetah's not a character.
I'm definitely...
It's not a character that I'm like, oh my gosh, if they screw this up, I'll be forever scarred. I'm like,
Oh, yeah, they pretty much have a clean slate with the character. I mean, I'm kind of in the similar boat, with Kristen Wiig. I mean, nothing she's done has been like, oh, wow, like standout. I know who she is. She's had some leading roles, but there's nothing I've hated her in either. So, clean slate for the character and an actress with some experience.
Yeah. I'm interested.
Lots of.
At first, I was thinking like, man, I hope they do some practical effects on her. That would be really cool. They'll probably do majority performance capture, and I think, like, as we record this, people, Krypton is premiering, and we just don't have cable, so we'll talk about it tomorrow. But
yes, when we can stream it.
Brainiac, is makeup on Krypton, and it looks really cool. And then I think about like Planet of the Apes, how that mocap looks on the apes. So,
right.
I got my hopes up, I just want it to look good. I'm at a point.
Yeah.
I'm getting.
Absolutely.
I'm getting burned out on CG. Because I feel like it's getting used for everything to where I'm like, I feel like I'm watching animation sometimes more than I'm watching.
All these big.
Yeah.
Right. All these big villains, they're all CG. I hope there's a good deal of practical, obviously with, her being a strong physical opponent as well against Wonder Woman. There's going to be quite a bit of CGI, when it comes to the action, but I hope a good bit of, the physical performance comes through, that it's not a Ciarán Hinds Steppenwolf scenario where she doesn't even have to be on set.
Yeah, exactly. With the cheetah, like, they should use her face. Like I said, more Planet of the Apes. And also, what was I thinking of? Oh, like a few years back in 2012, when the Wolfman came out, like Rick Baker's practical effects for the Wolfman look amazing. I love when CG, you don't realize it's CG. But sometimes they just, instead of using CG to fill in the gaps, they do it too much. Like, I didn't realize for the longest time that all of Zod's armor and all of Jor-El's armor in Man of Steel was CG.
Right. Well, that's actually partly how they did Iron Man early on. Yeah. The Iron Man early on was there was some kind of suit and they used the CG to fill in the gaps. It was, still wore something.
You got less and less.
Yeah, to the point where Robert Downey Jr. doesn't even have to be on set to film Iron Man stuff.
Side note, that's why I say he could do this for the rest of his life. Just write a storyline where Tony's stuck in the suit and he can't get out. And then all I have to do is one day Robert Downey comes in, shoots in front of a green screen for the black, and does all of his lines like a voiceover, and he's done. Anyway.
Right. The only last thing with Cheetah is, I'm not too familiar with the character. I've seen a couple of designs. The Alex Ross design is pretty cool.
Yeah. I really liked recently when they did the Rebirth Wonder Woman, how Wonder Woman came out every 2 weeks, but like week 1 was a current story, and then like week 2 was a flashback story. And they kept alternating like that, and they told a really good Cheetah story in there. So if you get a chance to check out Rebirth Wonder Woman, to kind of get your hands wet on the more recent incarnation of Cheetah.
Excellent. It's on the list. And then, just the Wonder Woman, they've got, they're supposed to be starting to film in the UK in late May. Apparently there's going to be some, possible shooting in the US, probably around DC and Langley.
That would make sense.
In Virginia.
That would make sense. But I'm very curious about how, because technically Wonder Woman's supposed to be more in the shadows. So however she does this, it's going to be not a big thing,
Yeah, I kind of wonder if it's still going to be more like Black Ops, if perhaps the Steve Trevor, I guess, of the supposed 80s is when the movie's supposed to take place at this point, or is what we've heard that, he's still like Black Ops kind of thing, that she's, working with maybe an early Argus type deal.
I'm curious. I'll give it the benefit of the doubt, Let's do something cool with it. So yeah. While we're talking about
all right.
Here's one. No, you go ahead. I'm too tired. You lead.
Yeah. Okay. Well, the Shazam logo was just released recently.
It looks sweet.
So what do you think?
I think it looks pretty cool. I'm pulling it up right now. It's on my phone here. It's nothing too over the top. It's just right, I think, for Shazam.
Big Z.
Yeah, and it's got the lightning bolt behind it.
Big Z on the lightning bolt.
And then it's got the exclamation point and says 2019 only in theaters. So I think it looks cool.
Yeah, me too.
The one thing about Shazam is I don't care if it's the main villain. Nope, don't mind. Just I really would like to see, even if it's a post-credit scene, The Rock as Black Adam.
Yeah, that would be good. I mean, even as a post-credit scene, it could just be a stinger from possibly the past.
Exactly. Just something where we at least get to see him in costume as the character before, he never does it. Kind of like we don't know what's going to happen with Deathstroke Joe Manganiello, but at least we got that one scene.
Yeah, exactly. Let's see, we've got a New Gods Fourth World movie in the works.
Yeah,
the director, her name,
Ava DuVernay.
DuVernay.
No,
something like that.
I've seen her work in Selma. I saw that film. I refuse to see A Wrinkle in Time. It looks horrible, except it has my man Chris Pratt in it, which sucks because I would see it for him. But it just looks bad. But a New Gods film, okay. It's nothing I really wanted. I mean, but if I get to see Darkseid, and then they kind of bring it back around, and maybe we get more of the background of Steppenwolf, so that if you watch Justice League, it makes more sense. I'm interested in Big Barda and Mr. Miracle.
Yeah, that's right. There's a lot of the Fourth World is a whole set of mythology of its own. Lots of characters. And that was actually my thought about it, was that, being a Fourth World movie, being about the New Gods, that the focus is not going to be on High Father and Darkseid. The focus will be on characters like Big Barda and Mr. Miracle and, Orion and Calabac. Lower tier people, but you would definitely be able to see, Darkseid with the introduction of Steppenwolf into Justice League. There's a connection. They introduce, now they have something to pay off, where he comes from and what the Apocalyptans, what Darkseid's, overall, goals are. It's just galactic domination. I don't think so. It's usually a little bit more than just galactic domination. He control,
Exactly. I'm curious, I'll give it a shot. I hope that they'll at least show Steppenwolf, even if it's just an image or something, just to kind of really show people how it links up, who the New Gods are and everything, so that you have that little bit of connective tissue. Definitely gonna be heavy on CG, so.
Yeah, that'll be, I assume that would be an expensive movie. Doesn't seem like Warner Brothers pulling the reins back on some stuff. If they're going to produce a New Gods.
I really think I'll tell you right now that just the idea of a live action Granny Goodness scares me. Granny, the best Granny was Ed Asner voicing Granny Goodness on Superman the Animated Series because it was the creepiest thing ever.
Yeah, he was perfect.
And then, of course, they had Granny in Smallville, and she was creepy. So just thinking about Granny, I'm already scared.
You know, it was kind of funny. I heard somebody talk about it. It kind of came down the line. I heard it on another, might have been Holy Batcast they were talking about it, but it would be interesting if Tyler Perry were to play a Granny Goodness.
Yeah.
Kind of along the lines of an Ed Asner guy playing a female type role, but, you know.
Yeah, but he's too comical. Like, I need someone that's going to make me feel, like, creepily uncomfortable. I'd even be fine with them getting somebody than having someone else do the voice. You know, like, in something. Or, I mean, with digital technology, they could just change the voice, alter the voice, drop the voice, whatever. You know?
Mm-hmm.
Because Granny's just like.
Well, you know, a lot of the stuff that Tyler Perry does, you know, there's a lot of comedy, but there is also quite a few very heavy and very strong thematic aspects to a lot of his films. So he's definitely, you know, definitely has a serious streak, and I mean, be interesting but definitely Granny Goodness has to be like super creepy.
Yes. I totally agree.
I am hoping for the rumor to be true that an Aquaman teaser will be released.
Isn't that at WonderCon?
Soon.
Yeah.
Yeah, soon, I think. This weekend, perhaps. That would be amazing. No confirmation, but they do say soon.
Yeah, I mean.
Speculation was WonderCon.
I mean, they got good clout. I feel like, in a lot of ways, I almost feel like in Justice League, Aquaman and Flash were very underutilized. I think they could have done more.
Yeah. Well, I'm kind of hoping in that respect or aspect that they were underutilized. Next film in line on the slate, and they also do have Flash lined up. They have directors. I think they're trying to push forward with the Flash movie. So yeah. Hoping that, you know, it was for a purpose, that they were underutilized for a reason.
Yeah, I'll go with you. I just, you know, now I wanted to bring this one up because I know that you're excited about it, but Jason Todd's coming to the Titans TV series.
Yes, I am very excited. Honestly, for me, I'm a fan of the entire Bat family. You know, always have been, but since Under the Red Hood came out,
such a great film. I mean, the book is good, but the movie is just so good.
Oh yeah, the movie is excellent. I mean, it is so well acted, and you know, it can be difficult to especially with superhero fare to make that emotional connection through animation and voice work, but they really did it with Under the Red Hood. Jason Todd, Red Hood is definitely one of my favorite members as of, you know, Red Hood days.
No, we haven't got any casting for it yet. We just got the announcement the character will be there. So we don't know who's going to be Jason Todd, do we?
No, I don't think they've said anything on who it's going to be. No casting that I'm aware of. But they do have a specific episode named Jason Todd. So it'd be pretty hard not to be. Yeah, there's a specific episode name called Jason Todd. So, I mean, I'm sure somewhere down the line, you know, we've got a little while, I think, you know, late this year before they launch the DC streaming service.
I know.
They've got a lot
I'm so waiting for that because there's stuff I debate whether or not to buy, like some older things. And I'm like, will that be on the streaming service?
Right.
I don't know. We'll have to wait and see.
I wanted to. I had Krypton in my notes, and I want to talk about it. But the premiere is on this evening. So, but did you watch the Making a Legend featurette, the extended featurette that they released?
The 22-minute long thing. It's on YouTube about Krypton. Oh yeah, that was awesome. Yeah. I think we shared it on the Facebook page, and it's definitely, I think, something everyone should see.
Oh yeah. A lot of history about Superman in it as well, but they also talk a lot about the show, how they bring in that it's not really, say what it was meant to be early on as a prequel to Man of Steel, but they use many aspects from various incarnations of Krypton and the mythology of Superman to bring Krypton to life. History from the comics, history from different movies and television shows. From what they say, it's a pretty good amalgam to really bring the world of Krypton to life.
I'm excited, because I think as much as I love the crystals and everything like that, there's been different versions, and I liked a lot of what I saw in Man of Steel. I kind of wanted to see more. So I'm really interested in Krypton, the series.
Oh, absolutely.
All right, here.
Yeah, well, from my understanding, the early descriptions of Krypton back in like the late, in the early days of Superman, the early descriptions of Krypton were much more rugged and harsh, like the version Man of Steel was, not the 78 clean white Donner Krypton.
Yeah, and I kind of wonder where that originated from. I need to research that now that I think about it. I've never really thought about it more. All right, hold on. We're going to pull up this real quick. We'll do this. We don't have to. All right. Years ago, back in 2007, I want to say. Yeah, that sounds right. For some reason, DC was going to do a Justice League movie, roughly titled Justice League Mortal, that had nothing to do with, at the time we had Batman Begins in 2005 and Superman Returns in 2006. They were going to do a separate movie with all the Justice League characters. So, a while back we got to look at the actress who was playing Wonder Woman. They released her back in 2015. They actually released her costume photo. And we just got our first look at DJ Catrona, which I only know him from more recently, where he played one of the Gecko brothers on From Dusk Till Dawn, the TV series.
Oh, never seen it.
But yeah, we got to see his Superman outfit. And it's very blue.
Yes, very, very blue. Blue all the way down from the shoulders to the boots. He's got a couple of red lines on his boots.
At the foot
of his boots. He's got a gold belt in the middle. Yeah, at the foot of his boots, like the sole.
And, he's got it's not a bad costume. I think the area where he would have the trunks, where it looks almost like he's wearing blue trunks.
Yeah, in the photo they released, it does.
And it makes me wonder if this was just like a costume test on the design, like it wasn't the last official, hey, we're going to shoot tomorrow costume. But I actually like the boots. It's very almost Rebirth if it had the red at the top.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't.
And then the
like
design on the shoulders.
Yeah, I don't like.
And the S, the way the red comes over, that's almost reminiscent of like Injustice.
And I mean, I waited at first before talking to you about this because I want to make sure it was official, but I guess it was. So.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's definitely, it's kind of up there with, did you ever see the Superman, flyby costume?
Trying to think. I'm aware of Superman flyby, but no, I don't think I I don't think I recall seeing.
Hold on. Let me see if I can find the prototype. All right. I'm going to send it to you.
Okay.
One of the few, what do you call it? Images. There's not many. It's a lot of, okay, I sent it. But that was, like the costume that was made for testing for the Superman film that sounded horrible that was going to be directed or written by J.J. Abrams. He wrote it. The costume's not bad looking. But what's funny is both Brandon Routh and Henry Cavill auditioned for Superman Flyby.
Oh, yeah?
There's a picture of them.
Oh, that's not too bad, actually.
It's not too bad. It just, the costume would have worked, I think, better than what we got with Brandon Routh, but even there, you can tell they were starting to hey, let's lose the trunks. But,
yeah, they kind of made them subtle.
But yeah, that's something that they've been trying to get rid of. It seems like in live action for a little bit. And,
but they're bringing it back in the comics, apparently.
So.
And speaking of comics, we have some other variant covers released.
Yep.
Or at least one, right?
No, we got one, two, three. We got three.
Three? I can think of two offhand.
I'll send you all three that I have. But, all right.
Okay, well, I know the one is the Dan Jurgens, the Superman throughout the years, from the explosion of Krypton to Action Comics #1 Superman. Then they have, let me go up the list of them.
What's interesting is if you count, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 Supermen if you don't count the ship.
There we go. Yeah, we've got the ship. We've got the very first Superman, and then it goes on through the decades. We come all the way to the death of Superman, then the black and silver. Then they got the new 52 Superman, where we finally lose the trunks. And then coming up to Action Comics 1000 Superman, the Bendis Superman as it looks. It's got the red trunks back.
It looks good. And then,
I do like that.
Okay, so we're talking about the coming back Superman. There's the cover where it looks like he's beating up the Lex suit. I can't remember who drew it, but it looks intense.
Yes. Is that what it is? A Lex suit? I thought it might have been a giant Brainiac android or something.
It might be. It's some sort of machine.
Yes. And then you just sent me this image here, and it looks like an early days Superman where he's attacking mobsters.
Like a straight out of Action Comics #1.
Yeah.
I love
where
it.
he was fighting criminals of the day. Not supervillains, just criminals. I do. That looks really good. It's updated. The artistic style is very new, but the suit is definitely very classic, plus the atmosphere of fighting mobsters with Tommy guns.
And then the last thing for comics is DC is releasing Black Label, and we have a poster for Frank Miller and John Romita Jr. doing a Superman Year One. It's just kind of Clark in the sky with his glasses falling.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't really know much about this Black Label, but what are your thoughts on Frank Miller?
Well, I mean, Black Label, I don't know about, I mean, just some kind of out of continuity stories for different characters. But Frank Miller, I've enjoyed a lot of what Frank Miller has written over the years, and he has gotten the stigma over the years that he doesn't like Superman. And I think he wanted to do this. He wanted to write a Superman, show that he does care about the character. He could be very. He definitely has his own way of writing.
Yes.
Evident with Batman Year One, The Dark Knight Returns, Strikes Again. I haven't read The Master Race yet.
Me neither. I feel like
He
Frank
definitely
Miller,
has specific.
he really worked in a darker time. Like, did you ever read Batman, All-Star Batman, Robin the Boy Wonder?
I heard that was good. I have not.
It's weird, like, because there's parts that are good and there's parts that are just crazy. And I feel like Frank
Right.
Miller's dark take on
I
things
heard that as well.
just, it doesn't resonate as well nowadays as it used to. I think
Right.
the period of the ultraviolet 80s worked great, but now we don't want that. And I think that's some things that people had a hard time with Batman v Superman is, I mean, so much of Batman in that is straight up a Frank Miller Batman. But people who don't read the comics don't know that, and they had a problem with it.
Yeah, people only know Christian Bale. That's the newest Batman. You know, I mean, before Keaton, only people knew Adam West, and they thought Batman was a joke. You know, now even people who like Bale think Keaton was a joke. You know, as dark as Tim Burton's films were. So, you know, the characters all lend themselves to so many various voices. You know, so many various takes on the characters. You know, as long as a certain spirit stays alive with the character,
Agreed.
You know, they should be interpreted, and not everybody's going to like every interpretation, but I don't see the reason why people need to tear them down either.
That's just people just want to complain about something, you know?
Oh yeah. But I am looking forward to year one. I will certainly be picking that up.
Oh, I will too, just because I'll give it a shot.
Giving it a look.
And we'll probably review it.
But we are less than a month now from Action Comics 1000.
I know. I'm so excited.
Be reviewing Krypton. Yes. And I have with me, as always now, since Jania's busy, the Superman Red, Mr. James Cole. Welcome, James.
Hey, how's it going?
It's going well.
Happy to be filling in.
So when we started this podcast, we were first the last daughter of Krypton because it was going to be more Supergirl focused, and then we wanted to retool it and make it about everything Superman, Supergirl, and we chose Krypton Report because they had also announced the Krypton series. Now, if memory serves me correct, they had talked a little bit Krypton after Man of Steel, so that was back in 2013, and then they had talked more about it in the fall of 2014, which was when, Gotham premiered, and still no Krypton. And then Supergirl's come and is on season 3 now, still no Krypton. Then Krypton was supposed to premiere in the fall of 2017, because I have the teaser trailer they released that says 2017. And then no, and now here we are, spring of 2018, and we finally have Krypton. Now, one thing we're going to talk about during this is when the show was originally conceived, it was going to be more prequel to Man of Steel. And I feel like what we're getting is this beautiful kind of hybrid of Man of Steel Krypton, some Richard Donner Krypton, some comic book Krypton, so a very kind of nice amalgam of the Kryptons that we've seen in other works. What do you think?
Well, yeah, exactly that. An amalgam of everything Krypton. Almost the only stories of Krypton is about its destruction. So to see life on Krypton, it's really cool. A lot of the set designs are quite reminiscent of Man of Steel. Lots of the curvy rooms and
the darker, grittier tone.
Yeah. Which, from what I have read, what I've come about is that the Krypton from Man of Steel is more is more in line with the original ideas of what Krypton was, of more of a harsh environment, not the crystalline, clean, everything straight, like Donner had come up with.
Now, when I'm working backwards here. I'm trying to realize, I was thinking, when did that first appear? Was that first appeared in the comics? And I haven't done as much research as I would like to have, because it feels like once Superman the movie hit with that's the imagery we've got. In the comics, it adapted to it. I mean, every live action version of Superman up until Man of Steel, but even Supergirl kind of took some aspects from that world, had been very much in line with that kind of imagery.
Oh, absolutely. Once Superman the movie, came out, that put Superman mainstream, and, everybody's idea of Krypton and what it should be was crystals and like an ice planet and stuff like that. Which, I'll get to that as soon as we start.
So let's go ahead and start. So
in on the episode.
Let's start on the episode.
Okay.
Episode 1.
All right. Well,
pilot.
Yes. Pilot. Yes. The opening. I like the opening. Kind of a monologue to Kal-El. As talking to him in the future. But what I liked when I first saw it was that the planet seems to rotate and always face the same side. Like half of the planet was ice, and the other half of the planet was more sunny, more bright. It literally had a divide on the outlands and the cities.
I didn't notice that, but that is a really cool observation that really plays into like what we were talking about like the amalgam of what we're looking at, with of just the mixed opinions of the two versions.
Mm-hmm.
So that can play into that. Now, I do not like that Superman's grandfather's name is Sigel. Okay? Because if you say it too soon, too quick, it sounds like you're saying Sigel. And when I say that, I think of Jason Segel. Maybe it's a play off Siegel for, Siegel and Schuster.
Oh, yeah.
But the thing is, like, I thought Val-El was a really cool name. And then, like, if that was Jor-El's father, and then him naming his son Kal-El, keeping that A-L sound would have been cool, because this very much seems like it's a show about grandfathers and their grandsons.
Yeah.
Since Sigel's father didn't really play a huge role as much as they talk about Val. Because let's just talk, like, the opening is Val-El being on trial and losing his rank. Their coat of arms and everything was taken from them, and they were unranked. And I thought the idea of the class society like that was really interesting. Really seeing that there's like bottom level Kryptonians and then the hierarchy Kryptonians. Yeah,
they definitely have a strict caste system.
So
in place.
I really liked seeing that. And, Val gets that taken away because, this is like supposedly 200 years roughly before Kal-El, and their timing's different. So,
their timing there's a issue about that too that I wanted to talk about when we got there.
Okay.
They seem to live longer lives than their life expectancy is quite a bit longer, 2.5 times longer than what it seems for human life.
And I can go with that. I mean, it's also how they measure time. Ours is about rotation of the sun. Just like on the other planets in our solar system, 1 year equivalent is longer or shorter, depending on. So that doesn't bother me. What one thing I rewatched, just out of curiosity, I rewatched Man of Steel to pick up just things from the Kryptonian like beginning, and then when Jor-El talks Krypton, you know, he talked about that they were already exploring space before artificial population control, but he doesn't ever say that they found other life, which is interesting. Because, you know, the whole purpose of this is Val saying that there's other life in space. And people are basically not believing, but they're all aligning themselves with the voice of Ra, this deity. And I'm not sure if they're thinking the one with the gold mask is like Ra or the voice of Ra, or if it's a prophet or something. But you have to align yourself with Ra, or...
Yeah, he certainly seems like, at least like, I don't know, maybe like a Pope type figure. You know what I mean? The person who's, you know, closest to Ra.
And that's really the what I picked up from him too.
Yeah, they definitely are, even for being a scientifically advanced society, they're still very holding on to their religious beliefs that religion and science can coexist, at least there to a degree, seeing as they sentenced Val-El to death for treason.
Now, I like everything you said up until Val-El's death and treason. You know, the idea of things living together and everything. I thought that was, you know, that can be very interesting. So, the beginning is Seg, which I'm just going to call him Seg because I feel like when I say Seg-El, it just doesn't sound as great together. So I'm like, Seg.
Well, that's what they call. Yeah, well, you know, that's what they call everybody. They call Val, they call him Val-El, they just call him Val. Ter, she calls Ter-El, she just calls him Ter. And everybody calls Seg just that Seg.
Well, also, they kind of, I wonder, did they, they were D-class, but were their last name, was it completely, like, taken away? Almost as if you're not ranked, you don't have a last name, like a family name.
Right.
I kind of wonder.
Well, yeah, I mean, a name, I mean, they lose the name, they lose the guild symbol. You know, the father tells him that, you know, being in possession of that symbol is against the law. So, like, they will wipe out everything. Name, guild, house, the whole.
Some scary stuff. But, alright, so I will say one thing. I wanted not to listen to any other opinions about this till we got to record.
Mm-hmm.
I did listen to my good friends Mr. Zach Moore from the Always Hold On to Smallville. Him and Lance talk about it.
Oh, yeah.
And what's funny is a lot of the things they were saying, I was sitting there listening like, oh my gosh, that's what I was thinking. So anything that I repeat can also be found on the review of the Always Hold On to Smallville, because I don't want people to think I'm stealing their ideas. But we cut to, was it like 14 cycles or whatever later, and it's
14 years later.
Seg is fighting in the bar, and it kind of reminded me of Star Trek, you know, Chris Pine, Jim Kirk scene, and they're hustling. We find out there's a curfew, guards pick on him, and I mean, if you look at this, and you look at a 24-hour, like, or a 1-day time frame, everything Seg goes through, let's see, I'm trying to remember. So he does that, and then his father, like, I thought this was going to play more into the plot, but his father left his medication, which I thought was interesting. Being the advanced society, I thought part of the artificial population control thing was wiping out diseases and things like that. But his father forgot his medication, and Seg was taking it to him, because his father worked for the guild, which is extremely degrading.
Yeah.
And we
along the lines of like disease and stuff there, you know, I mean, you could still think that perhaps, ailments from age as opposed to just, sickness.
True.
Could be,
or it could be
could be something.
Class system back to something in that, but because we haven't got into the extent yet of like what the artificial population control gets into, and we'll get there. But we see that someone has a bomb, which is like in their arm, and Seg sees it and like tackles the guy, and then, dude, I literally went, holy crap, when they shot the dude's arm up to get rid of the bomb.
Yeah, that was pretty crazy. Like, I wonder how, like, advanced science or whatever, but yeah, no explanation as to why. I mean, like, he rolled up his sleeve and it's just Kryptonian, like, flashing on his arm, and yeah, he's down, they step on his arm and just blow it away.
It was crazy. But,
excuse me, I've been a little sick the last couple of days and I coughed a couple times.
Please. I'm talking to the man who can't get rid of this cold because he lives in Ohio in the crappy weather. But then before that Seg is a genius, of course. It's a family thing for the science. And he can be reinstated in the guild, but he would be under a different name. Like, kind of like adopted. And I thought that was interesting because that, like, changes the idea of, like, the strict bloodlines. And he would be, Vex. And basically gets offered a daughter to marry, to bind with, to use their terminology.
Mm-hmm.
And then, keeping with their theme, we'll jump to the side plot in a second. Him and Cora, or no, not Cora. What is her name? Vex. I can't think. It's too late.
Nissa.
That's
Nissa
right.
Vex.
Which is interesting in its own right. They go and they prick their fingers and their blood in the machine, which is in the Genesis chamber. Another Man of Steel movie and comic book reference. And they see what their son would be, his life, and what he'd be molded for. And basically, their unborn child's entire life is played out right there in front of their eyes.
Yeah, like shown him how he grows, the fact that he's going to be in the Lawmakers Guild, the fact that he's going to live for 173 cycles, like there is absolutely no choice in who or what he's there for.
And so I found that extremely interesting because it's back to certain themes that we saw in Man of Steel. And,
yeah. The interesting thing though, like just for Nissa, like I'm kind of surprised that they went with Nissa the way they spelled it with a Y.
Yeah.
Just because like Light Azad, who we'll get to, her name is spelled Lyta. I would have thought like maybe the Y, that her name would not be Nissa, more like Nisa or something.
Yeah. Yeah, I totally agree because spelling is very. The choices you make in the spelling is very specific.
Mm-hmm. But speaking of spelling, which I have most of it done. I went back and did the research, took screenshots of all the Kryptonian, like in the beginning when they go to where they open up on Kandor City, and it's spelled out in Kryptonian. And then it translates to English, but all that spelling is correct from, the comic books, letter for letter, Kandor City, 14 years later, the Military Guild, the Lawmakers Guild, and the Genesis Chamber. Plus, I'm even trying to translate like the bar name.
Nice.
So, I just want to, I want to do that. I want to put it up on the social media page for, just the accuracy, the time the level of detail they took to, develop the show, that it's not just Kryptonian symbols scattered all over for no reason, just to make it look like Krypton.
Right, like they're not just randomly putting script up there. Oh, that's Krypton writing.
Yeah.
So, and that Krypton writing itself.
Actually, considering one thing real quick about the writing, you know, the S we seen in Smallville is that's the Kryptonian S, which is actually the pentagram with the eight inside, the full symbol all the way around, which is it's like the 8 inside of the pentagram. That actually that's the actual S, that's the letter S, but their symbol, the house L symbol is an S. So their S is actually the 8 inside the pentagram, whereas the family crest is like our human S. So it actually makes a separation that, you know, S doesn't just mean S.
Yeah. Like, it kind of makes me mad, like the whole, it's not an S. Well, here it's an S. Well, that's only in the United States, English. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
Just kind of like, I don't know how familiar you are with Led Zeppelin. When they did their symbols, and there's one symbol that looked like the word Zoso, but it's a symbol, but everyone called it like the Zoso, but it's not supposed to be that. You know, it's just, and that's kind of what I think about, like, yeah, it was RS, but to them it's not an S. And I mean, we know that when Superman was first created, the S was for Superman, okay?
Yeah.
But they didn't want to make it tacky, and they over time made it the family symbol and hope. So it's adapted. But yeah, I mean, it's an alien language that they're writing. Just looking at different languages around the world, like the way things are written, sometimes isn't the way we think they would be pronounced because of our language. So that always annoys me.
Mm-hmm.
So now talking about Lyta Zod, we find out that the House of Zod is part of a special, what do they call themselves, the tip of the spear elite guard.
I did, they call themselves, Sagittarius Zod.
So
Sagittarius Zod. I wrote it down. She brought up Sagittarius Zod. And then she talked about them being the tip of the spear, that other city states and factions like Black Zero. So it seems like there's, you know, civil warring on the planet, that Krypton is not a planet united. It is a group of nations, as it were, warring against each other.
And I thought that was interesting. And then we see that, I can't remember her name, but she's also referred to as Primus Zod at one point, because I think she's the leader of the House of Zod at the moment.
Her name was Allura Zod.
Okay, come on, seriously, we can't pick a different name. We have to use a name that's already associated with somebody. Like, we can't make more original names.
Right. I seen an article that she's no longer supposed to be Allura Zod, that she's supposed to be Jaina Zod. So I'm kind of wondering if that's not going to be something that's changed down the line, that was something maybe missed in the pilot after they had already filmed and yeah. So I'm gonna keep an eye on that moving forward.
But she fights Lyta Zod and stabs her in the hand.
Yeah, her mother, she stabbed a knife right through her hand.
Which was crazy. And then we find out that Seg and Lyta are a thing. And they're in love. So there's our
and they're both at
Romeo and Juliet.
It's like a love, right? It's like a love square, because he's intended for somebody, she's intended for somebody. They're both to be bound to somebody else, but they love each other.
And I think that kind of goes back to where we're going to go with the House of L being about choice and trying to reestablish that in Krypton culture. So, all right, so we're jumping around, but basically, Adam Strange, okay, not a character I'm super familiar with. I know the name, I know he's a time traveler. That's about it. I wish it was Booster Gold. Throwing that out there. At least a more named character that can be more fun, because Booster sometimes is an idiot. You know, someone that kind of makes more sense than Adam Strange, or a Legionnaire would have been cool.
Right.
Lightning Lad, or
I mean, I like the fact that they used a fairly unknown character. I mean, it kind of gives them some freedom. But I mean, like, to my knowledge, is Booster Gold I mean, I know he's all about the time travel and stuff like that, but does he travel? Is he a hero, like, among the cosmos? Because I know my limited knowledge on Adam Strange is that he's a hero not only through time, but also, across the galaxy for, being transported via Zeta tubes around the universe.
See, I don't know. I just think it's one of those things, like, you hear Adam Strange, and then anytime there's names, I think, that can be easily confused with other names, like, the simple people can get confused who don't follow comics as hardcore as we do.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just one of those things. I'm just like, okay.
Yeah.
But he
sees Adam.
No, go ahead. That's where I was going.
Oh.
Go for it.
Oh yeah. He sees Adam Strange, and he's points at his hat. Who are you? Is that a guild? Is that a guild symbol? No, man, it's the Detroit Tigers.
And he
thought that was hilarious. Told him he was from planet Earth.
And so that right there makes you wonder, okay, so who discovers Earth? Is it Jor-El, or now it's going to be Segel that discovers Earth? Because sometimes they have said that Jor-El was the one who discovered Earth, but there's been so many different versions of that, it's kind of, can be different.
Right. Well, the limited time, the fact that Jor-El was such a grand scientist and, discovered the Phantom Zone, and I mean, how many other things is he credited for in his lifetime? And he's the last generation of El on the planet. Like, he advanced their science so much in his life.
Exactly. So, Adam Strange basically pulls, I'm here from the future. Your grandson's going to be the greatest hero the world, the universe has ever seen. He's in danger. And he alludes to, basically, it seems like Brainiac's coming for him. Okay? And I kind of think to myself, like, alright, so is this Brainiac from the future who gets beat by Superman, decides to travel back in time to stop Krypton or everything? So is there technically two Brainiacs right now? The one from the future who's in the past, and the regular Brainiac? You following me on my time travel logic?
Yeah, I am following you, and yeah, I mean, that's a time travel aspects can make things very confusing.
It'd be kind of neat.
So until it's spelled out.
The Eradicator. That's something I'd like to see.
Right.
The way they've changed and done the Eradicators now. It's being like these.
Mm-hmm.
They kind of remind me more of like the Manhunters. So I kind of would like to see them show up on this series. But that's side note. So yeah, so that kind of was like the time travel of course, just him being there, Adam Strange talking to Seg that can mess up the future. But he brings and shows him the cape of Superman that's slowly disappearing. There's our ticking clock. Our disappearing cape as the timeline can be changed. And he gives him what looks like, to me, a hybrid of the Green Crystal and the Man of Steel key.
Yeah. Except for being green, it did remind me of the Man of Steel crystal, or Man of Steel key, but it also, reminded me of the Donner crystal technology. Just slide it in and, information and whatnot. So yeah, it seemed like a hybrid between the two.
Man, I feel like there was so much that was thrown at us in this pilot, but we find out that he goes to tell his parents. They don't want to answer him about it. Seg goes out, gets in a fight with the police. And
his parents are keeping it from him.
Yeah, his mom shows up, and they find out. And they go and they find out that basically the fortress is a family thing. That Val-El had his own fortress. This is the key where he would do his research. And there's going to be some big undercover thing that the government's trying to keep hidden. And I'm almost suspicious that the voice of Ral isn't an alien of some sort. That mask. And that's why they're trying not to prove aliens exist or whatever. Something, but so we get a fortress, which is really cool. And there's some cool concept, like sci-fi ideas I have about this, but I'll save those as the show progresses. Then basically they stole a ship to get there. The police track the ship. The mom hides Seg.
And wipes the nav system so they can at least find the location of the fortress.
And then the police basically take her before the council. They don't want it to be recorded that Seg was there because they really want Seg to be back in the guild. But then Tear comes forward and says that he was with her because they know that somebody else was with her in the vessel. And then Seg watches both of his parents murdered by what is called her leader Zod.
Mama Zod.
Lyta Zod's mom.
Mama Zod.
Yeah. Mama Zod.
She it seemed like she was kind of doing a mercy killing for the safety of her daughter because of the relationship. They're covering for him, his relationship with her. She would obviously, and especially since the mother claimed Black Zero, because obviously claiming Black Zero, like, they're not going to do any, like, it's like, that's a bad thing, she claimed Black Zero, so it's, they're going to arrest her and anybody she has association with, her husband, her son, they're going to be, scrutinized or under a microscope so, she killed them to protect her daughter in the long run and to, prevent them from what could be worse than death that they discussed while she was jailed before her trial.
Let's jump back real quick. At the beginning, Val was like banished to, it wasn't the Phantom Zone, but like a portal opened and he like fell into like the abyss. And now I do want to say, I like the fact that Val was wearing like a red cape and like a blue suit. Just on that.
Yeah.
So, jumping back forward, Seg sees both of his parents murdered. And then him and Lyta Zod basically break up. And, he's in the fortress standing on top of a giant S. He
he goes to his friend, which we didn't bring up. How did you like his friend?
His friend was all right. It was just the character. It makes me wonder if he'll continue to be there or not for Seg to interact with other than his family, just to kind of give him some sort of what he's up to in the bottom. Now, so it was on a scale. How would you rate the pilot?
Well, on a scale,
1 to 10.
1 to 10. Okay. 1 to 10, I would give it an 8.5.
I'm there with you. Some pilots
there
are
was,
amazing, and some are just kind of like exposition dump. And I think this one falls in between.
Yeah, it was definitely in between. There was some action. There was some world building, some character introductions. They've only got 10 episodes to unfold this story, and there's obviously quite a bit. Everybody's got an agenda. Seems like Nissa has an agenda. Obviously her father being the lawmaker, the voice of Rao. He's got a mask with 6 faces, 3 on the front and 3 on the back. Like the all-seeing, voice of Rao. And, the cinematography was really good.
Oh, it's definitely
the acting was.
It's very epic. It's very cinematic.
Yeah, very large in scale, but it draws you into the world. It seems like a real place, and like the one thing, like always hold on to Smallville brought up was their dialect and how they talk. Sure, they all sound British, but they're all one dialect. They all come from the same area, the same region, so they all have a similar dialect when they speak. But also in Smallville, Julian Sands Jor-El tells Clark that that it's a mistake to think that Kryptonians were much different than humans, that they have the same range of emotions and ranging from good to cruel, jealousy, they run the same gamut of emotions and everything that we do. So the fact that they interact and they live similarly to us, it doesn't seem like that would be a stretch. Like, why does an alien world, especially when it's been brought up in the past, that to make them more relatable, I'm sure, but are they all cold and bad people, corrupt people, or are there good people who are emotional and care for one another and all of that?
Exactly. We can't just immediately. They're not Vulcan. You know what I'm saying? Like, to grab a Star Trek reference.
There you go.
Vulcans. And I totally forgot what I was going to say. But anyways, I like it. Last question here, and it's getting late for us. How do you want the show to end? I have 2 ways I think I'd like to see it end. Option A is with the birth of Jor-El. Or option B is we see the birth of Jor-El, and then it flashes forward, and we see Jor-El trying to get Kal-El on the ship, and Seg-El's there old. And you remember the animated series, how it's actually Lara's father that helps dupe the police while Jor-El gets to the ship to launch Kal. Something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Where Seg basically is basically helping Jor-El, and we kind of see because they never say in the comics that Jor-El's father is dead. I mean, maybe some, but for the most part, it's never brought up. So it'd be kind of interesting to see Seg-El kind of wish Kal-El goodbye before Jor-El puts him in the ship and launches him. But that's just kind of where I think if they don't want to do that, like, just the birth of Jor-El, I think would be a good place to kind of stop. But
right.
We'll see how it goes.
Yeah, I mean, the ending of the show, I'm not sure. The ending of the season, that'll be quite interesting. One, they've got Brainiac coming in who's going to prove that Val-El was right, which Brainiac, his skull ship and the makeup and everything. Brainiac just looks sick. He looks amazing.
Oh my gosh. If we hadn't already reviewed Superman Unbound before, we would do it now. And any listener out there, I highly recommend find that animated film and watch it.
Yes. It's, Superman Unbound is great. And the last Superman standalone animated feature they've done up to this point,
which was 5 years ago.
Oh man, that was Man of Steel time, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Holy crap. They've done a lot of animated stuff since then.
Yes, they have.
So, the end of the season, Vex is going to be seriously hurt, for the part he's played, in destroying the House of El. Plus, where does the voice of Rao come in? And then everybody's going to know that they're not alone. So, it really opens up where they're going to be able to go from there if the show moves on to a second season.
I'm pumped. I hope it does get a second season. There's some interesting things with time travel, and we're supposed to get something with Doomsday, and that whole history with it being like the Kryptonian killer machine thing.
Okay.
I got high hopes.
Well, apparently it brought the highest ratings for a premiere of a show in 4 years on the SyFy channel.
Because they haven't done anything of quality. It's been recycled stuff or just junk, but that's another conversation.
Sharknado.
Yeah.
I've never seen Sharknado. I've never seen any of them.
And the second one, because my brother-in-law and sister-in-law loved them, so they made us watch the first one because we had a big family get-together to watch the second one. And I was like, okay, I'll do it for the family. And that was it.
Well, I've never seen it, and I have not seen a lot of what SyFy's done in a long time.
Yes,
so
same here.
This will, obviously for the show, but for the enjoyment of watching it. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed Krypton. I may have thought of some similarities to other things after it was all said and done, but watching the show, it had me engrossed, and I enjoyed it the whole time I was watching it.
I think it's hard to do sci-fi anymore that doesn't feel like something else.
Right.
So much great sci-fi, and I'm not even talking about just the main two with Star Trek and Star Wars. There's been a lot of other stuff too. I think that's come along that's just, it's hard to come up with something completely, new and feels more fresh and original. So,
yeah. Well, honestly, compared to a lot of stuff out there, Krypton is a whole lot more original, being an amalgam of movies and comics and, stuff from prior television shows. Being able to meld all of that stuff together kind of makes it pretty original on its own.
Yeah, you're right. So yeah, anything else you want to say out there, my good friend?
Just that I checked out the trailer for what's left in season 1, and they put a couple of clips out there on the app, and I checked those out. So I'm looking forward to what's coming. Plus there's been many stories of Brainiac going to Krypton for his purpose, for his collecting purposes, having nothing to do with, Superman. So
I kind of like that better. I just like the idea of the destroyer of worlds, that his programming, like, it'd be even cool to get more in the origin of Brainiac if they wanted to.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Where he comes from.
I'm actually wondering if the time travel aspect for Adam Strange, if he isn't completely wrong in the matter that Brainiac hasn't come back in time to stop the birth of Kal-El, or if this is just like one of the previously told stories that Brainiac did go to Krypton and, collected Kandor City and all of that,
Did you ever read Convergence?
No, not yet.
Okay, so Convergence,
slowly working my way through.
We're introduced to a character called Telos, who's basically, if you think of Brainiac as Galactus, Telos is kind of like the Silver Surfer.
Okay.
That could be an interesting character to see show up. So, just throwing that out there. What's your thoughts?
I think I remember some talk of that on The World's Finest a good while back.
Oh yeah, me and Phil before it started, we started talking about what that could do and how if Convergence could reshape the New 52 at the time, and in the long run, it's because of Convergence. We got Rebirth. So, all right, well, thank you, James. Where can people find you online, buddy?
I am James Cole III, on Facebook.
You can find us on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook at Krypton Report. You can also email us at kryptonreportpod@gmail.com. If you get a chance to go over to iTunes, please leave us a review to help us get better. If you're an Amazon shopper, just remember you can go to southgatemediagroup.com. There's a portal, log into Amazon, and you'll shop into your account just regular, but it also helps keep all the podcasts on and helps keep Southgate running. Remember, look up in the sky.